Hello and welcome to the Leeds That podcast. My name's Rocco, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Dave Tomlinson. Hi, Dave.
Hey Rocco, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks for coming on.
No prob, anytime.
Great. Well, yeah, we're here to talk about your new book, The
Thanks.
Man with the
Yeah,
Plan,
yeah.
Howard Wilkinson. A fantastic book as it is, but thought we'd start first by just sort of introducing yourself. Really, I know you've wrote a number of books on Leeds. Nine? Is
Yeah,
it nine now?
who knows? I mean, the thing is, I did quite a few on Amazon and then they pulled it for some bizarre reason. So it's about nine. Of course, like the same as yourself, I feel like a bit prolific. So I've got a couple on the back burner at the minute as well.
Well, you have to get into double
Yeah, you
figures. You
do.
can't leave
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
nibbly nine.
No chance.
I mean, the other thing as well that you've got is the Mighty Leeds website, which
Oh, yeah,
is
said that before. Yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah,
Thanks.
so
Thanks
that's
very much.
yeah. I mean, me and my dad call it the Bible.
Yeah, I
It's
know you said.
a phenomenal database. How long did that take you to put together? How long have you been doing it for?
Well, I know I started in about 99, something like that. A lot of stuff because I was really interested in doing a lot of the historic stuff because there's lots of sites that do up to date things, and I know what I try to do is get contemporary records. So I spent a lot of time for me sins trailing up to Leeds and the library there and go through the microfilm for all that stuff. Some bloody fascinating things. So I now know what happened when the Titanic went down from there. But yeah, it's been going about 20 odd years.
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah, because there is a bit of a gap, isn't there, after
Yeah, you
like
spotted that, did you?
yeah. After Revy and well, up until about O'Leary, I suppose. Do you plan on filling it in at all, or is that just too
Well,
much
the trouble
work?
is, I did, but I'm not sure if I've got that many years left to do it. See, the problem is because I try and go to so much detail, it takes ages to go through the stuff. So, to be honest, I think I'm probably going to stick to the books and potentially use the books then to do the different pages on it. It's just difficult, like anything like that. You have to put a lot of time and effort in, and sometimes it just feels a bit of a chore. And I got into the books getting on for 10 years ago now, and I just really enjoy those doing. So I think it the books allow me to go into the same sort of detail as I did with the site. So in many cases, I'm seeing that as I suppose has been taken over from my point of view.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel like the Wilco book is your best yet?
Well, I will say that, won't I? No, no. The best yet, as you always know, is the next one
True.
that comes out. But yeah, no, I was really pleased with it, and I was as pleased as much as anything for landing it with Pitch, which is probably the biggest published company I've been with, and also getting Howard to talk to me. I mean, that was fantastic, and it was, because I've been trying to get interviews with various managers over a period of time. It's really difficult, but he was actually no problem at all. Absolutely no problem at all. Real gentleman, real great guy. So it was as much having the pleasure of getting people to talk to you about some things that were going on at the time and getting that absolute insight. But yeah, I love putting it together. Loved it because he's such a great bloke and he's very misunderstood or misrepresented. And I thought it was important to, try and get warts and all, but really try and get the truth about that. And I think that was the point about, you know, Leeds in his day and still it's all about the team rather than star players. It's about the team and getting the best out of what you got. And no one better, I don't think.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you've achieved that. I mean, it's
Thanks.
it's such a candid book. Yeah, it almost feels like you're watching a Netflix series. It's there's so much in there that I had no idea about, to be honest.
Yeah.
And but also, I mean, you've also written it like very, very balanced. So you
Yeah.
have like Steve Hodge, for example.
Hated
He
him. I remember. I
hated
remember
Wilco.
actually. I met Steve Hodge because he does all these hospitality things up there, and I asked him if he'd go on the record and stuff. And I was trying to get the other guys, so a lot of the other players from the time, and that was when I was trying to work it through with Sticks, who's back at the club now. And Steve said, "No, no, I'd be very negative." He was just said, "I have nothing good to say about him," and it's really interesting because when they first started, it looked like a genuine marriage made in heaven. This Wilkinson really rated him, tried to get him when it was at Wednesday, and Lodge was really happy to be there. But some things don't work out, and it plainly didn't. And I felt really
Yeah.
sorry for him actually. He's just trying to get this. It's never black and white. It's always somewhere in between. And I think what I do try and capture is the ups and the downs around it, because Wilkinson wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but most of the players, the real players, the ones that played for him, loved playing for him.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like at the beginning of the book, you track his pre-Leeds career, of course,
Yeah,
and yeah, even I was surprised to learn how successful he had been. So when he actually took the job at Leeds, who at the
yeah.
time was such a struggling club, really. I mean, Bremner had reignited them somewhat, but they weren't in a good way. Do
No.
you remember when he was appointed? How you felt? Were you massively excited, or did he still have that reputation as a bit dour or what have
No,
you?
no, not really. I think it was about, you can look at people's characters and whatever, and it's not necessarily their media friendliness or any of that stuff that matters. It's really about, is he right for us? And he'd clearly been really successful at Sheffield Wednesday, a club that was probably as bad as Leeds when he first took them on, and he took them right to the top. So he was, I remember, they were third, fourth, and doing well in the cup. So they were doing really, really well. Fantastic big name at the time. Now I remember, I have to say, I'd fallen a bit out of love. So in the 80s, it got a bit like that. But I do remember when he was appointed, it felt like, look, we've got a real manager now. So the stuff where Bremner was okay, but Bremner wasn't a well-known manager. He wasn't a very successful manager. He's a bit of a novice, as the previous ones had been. And Wilkinson was a known quantity, a proven quantity. And certainly, within a couple of months, you could see he was right. And he brought in some really good players. And we know about those, don't we? Just how he was able to attract players like, Jones and Strachan, and got them really into the Leeds mentality from the start. And they were just absolutely right for the city, for the club, for the football team. They're just fantastic. Just wonderful. It's a bit like now. It was actually really good those years in the second division, or when it was going okay. Those years in the second division, fantastic. Best days, best days.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, it reminded me a lot of
Yep,
Bielsa.
yep,
Wilkinson dropping down to Leeds,
yep,
like Bielsa, dropped down a level or two in his
yep.
career to come to us, and also like Wilk had a immediate impact, 11
Absolutely.
unbeaten,
Yep.
and also his methods, is so well. So massive on fitness, isn't it? And he's
Yeah,
doing double set training sessions and weigh-ins and things, which
yeah.
Reeve did as well before that. So I don't think it's any coincidence here that the three best managers are doing the same things.
It's a, it's a wonder he got Mel Sterling running around. He can't run around these days, can he?
Well, you're not wrong there. Bless him.
And I remember you getting going up on stage on your birthday or wherever, and Mel Sterling was
Yes.
there. I know he was on there because I
Yeah,
remember at the
yeah.
time. Because you guys, oh, I've written a few books. Yeah, right.
Do you know what? That's so funny because I was reading the book and I was really disappointed. There's a line where someone says like, "Oh, Mel Sterling will laugh at anything," and I was really disappointed because when I went on stage, I said a joke to him and he absolutely cracked up. I was feeling really good about myself, but yeah, obviously
No,
it
no,
doesn't
no.
take a
Believe
lot.
it. Believe your own publicity, Rocco. Always.
Oh dear. So yeah, so Wilco, fantastic turnaround. We got onto the winning of the title.
Yeah,
So this was my first season as a Leeds fan. I
yeah,
only actually started supporting them in like February of this season. So
yeah.
I sort of missed
Oh,
missed
you
the
Johnny
full
come
season as
latey, were
such.
you?
Yeah, jumped on the bandwagon, glory hunting.
You'd be about
Uh,
3, wouldn't you, at that stage?
4 or 5. But yeah, so how was it? How was that season? How the like the culmination of it? Like to me, it felt like people were just sort of enjoying the ride and the thrill of the chase rather than actually expecting or needing to win the title. Did it sort of feel like that?
I think it was. There was no way we expected it, and Wilkinson, I don't think was expected. No one at the club was. But it's like when you get so close. I mean, it's almost like when you start believing, that's when the rot sets in, or you get that problem. But I remember at the time, it was so all the papers, and I mean all the papers, were just behind Man United. Absolutely bound to win it this year. 25 years since they won it, and I know I used to work in Manchester at that time. Yeah, at that time. And there was a lot of City fans there and United fans. And I was able to say at the end of the season, we've won it 3 times since the last time you did. And it was that thing about they believed it was, a done deal, and it was just that so much being able to just go through. Because I remember it was about 3 or 4 games from the end when they drew at Liverpool, and I remember the papers they were talking about gallant Leeds, nice try, fellas, but you're done and dusted. And it was just written off, and it was just that turnaround and just seeing United crumble. It was so pleasant.
Well, I mean, they basically did what happened to Leeds so often
Yeah,
under
yeah,
Levy,
yeah.
didn't they?
Oh
Like
no, we never
the
did
Easter
that. We've
collapse.
never done that.
Yeah, and you do as well. You get a real sense for the rivalry between Leeds and Man
Yeah,
U at the time.
yeah,
It was massive, and two clubs in the same sort of position who had both dominated 20 odd years ago,
yeah.
and then gone through some tough times, and Leeds won the day.
Yeah, but they always expected, they were just waiting to claim their title. They expected to do that all the way through Man United. You knew it was. Atkinson was the same, and Ferguson, and like absolutely great manager, but wasn't it great putting one over on them? Absolutely great.
Yeah,
And I do remember, when they won it, like the Sheffield United in the afternoon, and then United at Liverpool. Poetic, absolutely poetic.
yeah. It's one of those where, like, once Leeds had won at Sheffield, like you just knew, like it was
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
done. They were never going to win at
But
Anfield.
it
It
was
was,
we didn't even need to worry. They could still win.
yeah,
They must still win it.
true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, I must say like that I was most looking forward to like the second part of the book, if you like, after the title, because that
Yeah,
was sort of my time getting into Leeds and seeing it all fall apart and to learn about to learn about how it happened and how it came
yeah,
about and what they all went through was really, really interesting. I mean, first, obviously, you have the season after the title win, and there's
yeah.
no away wins, but almost the best team in the country at home, lost only once. I mean, what a crazy season that was.
Well, it was just bizarre. It's this thing sometimes that in those days, at least, the champions didn't do so well the next year, and we started okay, but you just couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe what was going on. It was just when I asked him about it, what was the reason for that, and he couldn't put his finger on it. It's like there was 1,000 reasons. There was a load of stuff, and it was like maybe they were believing their publicity. There was the back pass rule. There was all that stuff, and it was it just wasn't the same. And I think they were also you've got this thing where not that Cantona was a problem in those days, but trying to play to him and get the better out of him didn't suit the style. So in the championship season, that was all about came on for the cameos. Fans loved him, but it would have changed the mix. He just wasn't prepared to do it. So no, very very poor season, very poor, very depressing season. It was actually right to the end. Could have gone down. I remember Forest and Leeds, too good to go down. Forest went and it was Clough's last
Yeah.
season. It was, you know, so awful for him, a real broken man at that stage. But who cares? He went and we stay. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the Cantona thing, yeah, that was amazing to read, really, because it almost gave me closure on it all these years later. Reading about what a problem he was, and the incident before QPR won't
yeah,
ruin it for the readers, but yeah, you really get a sense of what a problem he was for Leeds at the time,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was almost a case of either take the money or he's just going to bugger off to France and we'll get nothing.
Well, it was just the stuff that happened before. They could see it repeating themselves, and that would have happened if he tried to go through. He wasn't interested, so that would have happened. So Wilkinson went down the route of better get something for him than nothing. And
Yeah,
you can't really complain. I mean, it's down to him. Like fans hated it, really hated it, but they hated Cantona more eventually, didn't they?
yeah. Were you going to away games in this
Jorginho
season?
Ruta. No, no. I mean, I have to say I don't get to that many games because I'm actually in the Midlands, so it's a fair distance. I think I said to you before. Really, I struggle to get anything other than hospitality, so I'm not season ticket holder. I do go when I can, but it costs a fortune to go to it. But
Uh,
armchair. But it's just the identification with what it's like and the mentality and all that, and backs against the wall and all that spirit. And it's one of the few clubs that is really rooted in its community and rooted in its fans.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
keeps you going. That's what keeps you going, keeps you watching, and keeps the hope going.
Oh, definitely. That's the thing, isn't it? It's almost the fans that you support rather than the team.
Yep,
It's
yep.
the history and yeah, what it is. But yeah, so I mean, after this, after the horrendous title defence. We did make a bit of a comeback, and Wilkinson, tries to rebuild the team, but
Well, people forget
obviously
that.
money was tight, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but they were top four, top five all the way through. So I remember they were in the top five every year till '96, and people forget that. So
Yeah,
there was some pretty poor buys, but you talk to Wilkinson, it was all about biding time for the young generation to go through. So he set out to build that, and he talks at length. He talked to me at length about the team that played in the Champions League and those coming through. So it was really about, he was just trying to buy time. But, some of the ones he bought, like Nigel Worthington, all the Sheffield lot, they were just some bizarre players, including Carlton Palmer, the man with the tiniest head and the biggest body in the world,
I know.
and a touch to match.
I almost feel like the curse because Wilkinson I said like I started going in February, so they just signed Cantona. Like every signing before that had been amazing, and then every signing after that was
Jonah.
horrendous.
Is that right, Jonah? Yeah. I know,
Yeah,
it was just, I mean, it's difficult because he talks about you maybe get 1 in 3 or two in 5 or whatever paying off, and that's successful. And it was just, there was succession of poor buys, and it seemed to be a bit directionless. And it was things like Rocastle coming in. Rocastle was supposed to take over Strachan, but Strachan carried on playing. Rocastle was a really good player, and it just seemed to be when he was coming good when they let him go. And I think it was through that stage he just wasn't sure what to do. So going through this successful, but having built the expectations, fans wanted more, club wanted more, and it was
yeah,
it was just going through that difficult stage. And I suppose money talks at that stage. So letting Batty go was difficult.
yeah.
It was difficult.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, obviously there was the East Stand to pay for. Obviously they were doing Thorpe Arch as well. But yeah, selling Batty that's just a killer, isn't it? Especially
Yeah,
on the back of selling Cantona as well.
I
They
know.
didn't spend any money. They replaced him with Frank Strandley, so
Yeah.
they must have had some money
Fat
there.
Frank. Yeah, Fat Frank.
Yeah. Hell, yeah. I suppose, yeah, we went through all the rubbish signings, and then all our Christmases came at once with Yeboah, who sort of lit up
Absolutely.
the era for well that mid-90s. And to be fair, without him, probably there wouldn't have been the top 5 finishes either, would there?
No, they
He
wouldn't.
was
But it
awesome.
but it was also about that. It was exciting football. You knew when he got the ball something was going to happen. So I think the best game you had was the one at Wimbledon in that the 95-6 season, and they were top of the table after the first few games. But some of the things he was doing, absolutely wonderful. A fantastic player. And I remember when he first started his first goal against United. And there's this thing, he nearly fluffed it from an inch off the line. Whoa! And then he's a wonderful player, but you get that you can't always believe what you see on YouTube or whatever when you buy these, and they're always but we'll talk about someone else in a minute, won't we? That should have been good, but it's that thing about he was really the bee's knees, just absolutely world class, and you could see it. And it wasn't just the wonderful goals; it was just the entire thing. It was the size of him, and I remember him coming on, him stuck next to Nigel Worthington. There's this skinny, frail, grey old man, and there's this vast giant next to him. Can't even get his legs together when he runs on. A fantastic player, but when he hit it, it stayed it, didn't it?
Ah, yeah, yeah, and that's the thing as well. Learning about Yeboah before Leeds, he was a superstar, like
Yeah.
top scorer in the Bundesliga two
Well, I tell
years
you,
running, and
I don't think anyone had heard of him in this country. They talk about when
no,
Bielsa coming in, everyone says, "Oh, he's this and that," and that. I'd never heard of him. A lot of people
no.
hadn't, but certainly Yeboah, completely unknown quantity. Like a couple of really good seasons, and there was no social media in those days, so you didn't know any of this stuff. You
Yeah,
only saw what
we,
you saw on telly World Cups and stuff, and he hadn't been near that.
that's right. Yeah, so we all knew who Thomas Brolin was, of course.
Yes. Well, actually, it really interesting because I remember when he was playing for Sweden against England, and he was a fantastic player, absolutely wonderful. Can't can't believe they made such a fantastic player look so poor. But he had an injury not long before he signed for Leeds. So I think he broke his ankle or whatever, and
Yeah,
clearly he wasn't in condition. It gave him a bit to work through, but it seemed to be. Wilkinson wasn't sure how best to use him. He told Brolin how he was going to use him, and then he seemed to change that. And he had some good touches, but it just didn't work out. And it was that expectation after Yeboah, and everyone thought the two of them together would be wonderful,
Yeah,
and they weren't,
yeah.
were they?
Well, I mean, that was almost the point, really, where it really went wrong.
Yeah,
Obviously, we'd won the league, and then there's a bit of a lull. But like, if you take winning the league out of it, the club was perfectly on track for Wilco's
yep,
10-year plan.
yep,
They've got the 40,000 seater stadium.
yep,
They're getting top 3 or 4 attendances on average. Everything's going great. They're rubbing shoulders with
yep.
the Giants, and then it just all completely fell apart. Around about the time that Brolin signed, just
But
went on a horrendous run leading up to the Coca-Cola Cup final.
But to be honest, I think Wilkinson just lost it. He wasn't sure what to do, wasn't sure what formation to do, and he was matching other teams up. But rather than going his own way and playing their own football, he was a bit defensive. You get this thing about the Liverpool in that last season where he was saying, "Yeah, we should have just lied down," and everyone had loved that. And yeah, I think to an extent he just fell a bit out of love with it. I know the fans had turned against him in there, and it was let's not talk about the Carling Cup final, but I mean it was just all that stuff. It was disastrous, but you know what it's like. I thought you said we always do well at Wembley. We did do that year, didn't we? Bloody
No,
hell.
I know. Don't listen to me. I talk nonsense. I'm better at asking questions than answering
Yeah.
them. Yeah. So, I mean, also another thing really interesting to learn was that he could have gone the year before to Arsenal, but he's so loyal.
Well, I'm
He
not sure
wanted to
about
stick
low.
around.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there was two things. I don't think Leslie Silver wanted him to go. And it was also this bit, what he told me about, he was heavily involved with the League Managers Association. So he goes back an awful long way with Graham Teller, the guy that was manager of England, Wolves, Villa, Watford, etc. And they come up through the ranks. And it was just this part, from his point of view, he didn't want to be seen to go grabbing the cash, buggering off down London as he put it, and he just felt he owed it to the game to do that. But you look back, could have been very different from him going on because he took a dive after he left us badly. He took a dive and his
Yeah.
reputation was shot. But he could have gone places. Similarly, before that, he could have gone to Galatasaray, and that would have been interesting, wouldn't it? These days, but yeah,
Yeah.
and no, you wonder what that could have been because he could have gone to Arsenal after George Graham got the bung thing and got moved on. And that would have been very different, very different. And I just wonder whether he'd been success there. You wonder sometimes you need the club, the situation, and the manager at the same time. And I'm not sure how that would have worked at Arsenal because they were a bit on the up, as I remember that. And then you get Arsene who coming in, change that club.
Yeah.
That would have been very different for Arsenal, wouldn't it? That'll teach
Oh
them.
yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, instead of Wilkinson successing George, it was George Graham, the successor to Wilco. And
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
I do often think and wonder. I know, so you mentioned, and the book talks about the new players that were coming through, the youngsters,
yeah,
and Thorpe Arch. I mean, it's uncanny. It's unbelievable, really, that the 10 years expired when those players won the Youth Cup and
yeah,
started
yeah.
breaking into the team. It's just unbelievable that you even could call it like that, let alone for it to turn out like that. But Wilco wasn't there to reap
No,
the benefit. I'm not sure if do you feel like if he'd have hung on till then, would he have taken us forward again, or do you think too much water had gone under the bridge?
I don't know. It's difficult to say. I mean, you get to a time when almost you've gone past your sell-by date. And I think he just drifted in those late years. I mean, someone like Ferguson went on forever, etc., and he was able to reinvent or whatever. I think the trouble is it just became a bit of a malaise and it just went off track. And I just think he would have left. I can't see him going on. I'm sure he would have liked to and liked to take it on. And if it hadn't been Caspian coming, he probably would have done. He probably survived going through that. But they'd obviously decided he wasn't for them. They were looking for someone like George Graham, and they'd obviously lined that up in advance of. And Wilkinson just wouldn't have suited them at all because they wanted someone who was media friendly. Everything that Wilkinson wasn't. So I don't know. I don't know. He was very regretful he didn't see it all the way through, and he talks with envy about things going through, but he didn't. He didn't talk to me, or we talked a little bit about legacy. And other than the heritage and building it and having that long-term plan, he didn't. I don't think he regretted it. You don't think he regretted it. I asked him also, "What do you regret winning the title at the wrong time?" And he goes, "Well, if you could have guaranteed we'd win it the following year or going on, then yeah, maybe. But you have to take it while the iron's hot, don't you?" But no, I think he was so. I tell you, he was so pleased about what Leeds think of him and the club and the fans and all that. And incredibly humble man. Incredibly
Yeah.
humble.
It's a real shame, isn't it? That like his reputation was soured at Leeds as a manager, because he was such a forward thinker,
Yeah,
like out the
absolutely.
box ideas,
Yeah,
revolutionary manager in a lot of ways. And I mean, he did build like modern day Leeds.
yeah,
He did
absolutely.
Thorpe Arch and everything we stand for now, and everything that came that was good. Like it's all built from him.
Well,
So just
I always think he did exactly what Brian Clough should have done. So he knew it needed to change, but he went about in a way that it was really clear he was doing it for the club rather than for it himself. And you go through, like Clough did a lot of the same things, not take the picture down, but chop up Revy's desk. So he was a bit near the knuckle and he didn't appreciate what he'd got. But you look at Wilkinson, he got rid of virtually everyone that was there when he got there, really quickly overnight. But I think it was about the fans knew they needed change. In the Clough era, they didn't want change, and there could have been a smooth transition. But there you go. I thought Clough was a fantastic manager. It's just wrong time, wrong person, etc., and wrong style.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can tell in the book, that he does feel, regretful, maybe even a bit bitter really about how they squandered what he'd built really, by buying all those expensive players when, the youth players should have just been left
Yeah,
to do what
yeah,
they
yeah,
were doing. They'd finished second in the league and
yeah.
oh, well, third in the end, wasn't it? But they were doing incredibly well and I mean injuries played a part. There are other reasons, of course,
Well,
and
there's lots of stuff. It's like, let's not go into that. By the way, that's the subject of my next book, Rocco. But let's not go into that. But it is all that thing about a lot of it's about the egos of the people and that belief of things going through. But they could have done so much more, but they did squander, and much the same as Revy had done. Very similar strands through to Wake. But thankfully they did make a
yeah,
real advance following on from Wilkinson. But what happened afterwards. But let's not go there. I think it was a different
yeah.
year, and it's just the money that did them.
Yeah. And I mean Wilco himself, obviously, terrible time at Sunderland, but I mean before that, I mean, and again, like massively important part that he's played as the technical director for England, in
Yep,
the development of St George's Park.
yep.
That was, I mean, I did know of it, but it's still amazing to read about it in detail and hear about, what he did there.
Well, again, it's vastly unappreciated. People really took the piss out of him. They really talked to him about as a dinosaur. And when he was the manager, they really slated him, absolutely slated him. But he's misunderstood. And it's again, people were looking for the flash guy, the front person, the person, and he was so dry, etc. And people just believe what he said and all that rubbish going through. But absolutely really visionary. And you talk about that's what led to Gareth Southgate and all the changes going through. But there was time actually, Sven Goran Eriksson just passing when they appointed Sven, dead against it, and that was a real falling out at that time. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely made a real difference there, real visionary, much the same as he did with Leeds and Thorpe Arch.
Yeah, there's a brilliant quote in there. I don't have it in front of me, but like a typical example of his humour, where they're outlining what his job was, and it's basically to bring the standard of English football up, bring the standard of all the players up, and
Yeah,
Wilco just says, "Oh, is that all?"
yeah, that's all right. Anytime, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll see
and he
you
did it.
later. Yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah,
that's right. But it was the understated nature, and he didn't shout the odds. He didn't boast about the stuff, and it's only when you see it in retrospect and we see what other people have written him about him. But they were after the FA were after Wilkinson for years and years and years. So going way back when he first started, he managed the England non-league side, and he was working with Bobby Robson, etc. in 1990. So he was involved with England all the way through, but just not appreciated. He's just outside, but this is what you like, isn't it? You don't like your heroes to be appreciated elsewhere in the country. It's like, it's all
Yeah,
about Leeds, isn't it?
yeah.
He's ours.
What do you think about his legacy at Leeds? I mean, there's not really anything there at the moment, is there? Howard's Bar, does that still even exist? I don't know. It's in the away end, isn't it?
God knows, but I think it's about, they've been talking about either a statue or whatever, and they say that because Bielsa won't or wouldn't want a statue, that's why they're going to have the training centre as being Bielsa. I think they still plan to do that. I think they started talking about Wilkinson in terms of a statue again, but who knows? I think the trouble is he's one of the few that isn't honoured there, and I think they've missed the boat. They should have done it years ago, really. Should have done
Yeah.
it years ago.
No, definitely. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Wilkinson, of course, and a lot more, having read the book. And they were a fantastic team that he moulded. That midfield quartet, it gets talked about a lot, and
Yeah,
it can be underappreciated, even though we talk about it. I mean, McAllister's Strachan's speed, and then Batty
yeah.
behind them. It's absolutely incredible, really.
But it's even the year before McAllister came in, that made a difference in the first division. But the year before, we're in the second division with Vinnie Jones in there again. Wouldn't you love for a midfield like that these days? Wouldn't you love
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, less said the better about his thoughts on Carlton Palmer being the new Vinnie Jones. That made me laugh.
No, he's got a lot of time for Carlton. As
Yeah.
Graham tell you, that tells you everything, doesn't it?
Oh dear.
A
Yeah.
great
No.
athlete, a great athlete.
Well, I must say, Dave, honestly, it's an amazing piece of work. I mean, the amount of research that's gone into that book and information, I genuinely, every Leeds fan should buy and read that book. It's phenomenal. If you want to know what happened in the Wilkinson era, it's all in there. You've done a brilliant job. So yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations on it.
50 quid's in the post, all right, Rocco. But no, I do, because write this very much for myself, because I think it'd be what others want to see, and I know if I'm finding interest in doing that and trying to convey what it was really like in the passion, I think I've done a good job. So I really appreciate that. But I think it's this thing about, I believe there's a real thing about Leeds in terms of capturing that heritage and what happened, and really for posterity. And that was a fantastic time. Nothing like it. I mean, it's the same as Revy, and you know this because you've written that yourself. But it's that when you go through creating a club basically from scratch, bringing them right to the top, get them appreciated and hated, you've done a good job. Fantastic
Yeah.
job.
Oh yeah. What about the modern day then? How are you feeling about this season?
Let's see what happens against Burnley. I mean, it's like, you get the weekend, and the Japanese guy, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And they say like no one's had as many passes in the time he was on. I thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And Solomon as well, and the other guy coming on, they look really good. And you go through. Get the bit about Somerville, get the bit about Reuter, but this could be better. You get that thing about people didn't rate Reuter until last season, and they were still slagging him off for losing the ball midfield. They were talking about how selfish Somerville was, and it was a one-trick pony. It always come in, and you get that. I remember only once last year when Somerville went outside and they managed to score, but he was in the end. Who am I to talk? But he was pretty predictable. You just go across, and they sussed him towards the end. Solomon's a different kettle of fish, and he could just see the class. But bloody awful ref again, wasn't it? As usual.
I know, yeah, that barge in Rodon's back, I was spitting feathers, but I
Yeah,
agree. I absolutely
what?
agree. Like I don't think people realizing that, like, it wasn't just Farker that we fell apart. Like, the players fell
Oh
apart. Like,
no,
Rutter didn't do it.
I know. And
Somerville
you
didn't
talk
do it.
about they talk about now. Oh, we've sold Kamara. People were slagging him off all the way through. It's easy when you're not there how good you are, wonderfully. But I think they've still got the making of probably the best team in the championship if they don't just believe the publicity. But you get things like Joe Rosen. I'm not sure where he is based on last year. He just seems to be a bit, you know, almost not as confident, and I think that's been not. But they're talking now about. I saw something. I think it was in the Athletic or wherever, or in Square Ball today, about if Strike had remained fit all the way through, we'd have probably gone up. Not sure about that, but I don't know. But you go to just see decent football, something you can identify with. But I think we've got some fantastic players. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing how they gel over the months to come, with certainly the ones that have come in. I wonder about this Jaden Bogle, because he's had some real slagging for his defensive, but he's not bought for his defence, same as Firpo. It's about the going forward. And what do you want? Do you want us to be really good at the defence and not pass, or do you want us to go forward? Both. Both. I want both of those. And I want to go up with the best points ever. Yeah. Well, yeah, that wouldn't be Leeds, would it? Go watch
No,
United. Oh, no.
so especially in the Championship, you got
Yeah.
to have some weaknesses.
Yeah.
Good. No, well, been great to talk to you, Dave. Thanks for
No
coming
problem.
on, and
No problem.
yeah, loved the book. So yeah, again, it's called Howard Wilkinson, The Man with the Plan, and it's out now, Amazon and all good bookshops, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Well, thanks very much, and Rocco, and I know you're very prolific yourself. Have you got something planned yourself?
Well, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm tracking Bielsa at the moment, so I'm
Right.
writing his story at Uruguay, and I have been doing a bit of Wilkinson myself. I've been sort of trying to do the 92-93 season, so I'll see how that goes, because it is an amazing story.
Get too depressed. Don't get too depressed.
And I'm concentrating on the home games first, and then maybe I'll start looking at the away ones.
No, forget them.
Good stuff. Well, take care, Dave, and
Yeah, cheers,
yeah,
mate.
we'll be in touch. Thanks again.
No problem. Anytime, as I said. See you later.